Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. Let's take a look at what's in store today.
So in today's video we're going to be reading through the new patch notes that have come out for Diablo Immortal. Now some of this I covered in my video for the launch of the new patch and with the sneak preview of some of the gameplay. So there's some bits that I'm going to skip here, but generally I'm just going to talk through everything that came out in the patch notes yesterday. Diablo has been restored, adventurer. Certain doom is upon us. In our last content update, you prepared for the Lord of Terror's return with a new limited time event, balance changes for some classes, and updates to many features. This major update introduces the Shattered Sanctuary main quest, which will see you gather allies and sail to the icy north to contest a horde of demons pouring into our world at the behest of Diablo, Lord of Terror. You'll carry justice itself with you in the form of Elduin's Sword of the Archangel Tyrael. But to have even a chance of defeating Diablo, you'll need to disrupt his armies, push back his lieutenants, and dismantle a truly diabolical weapon that lies at the heart of his plans, deep in the crater of unmaking. So this new update will see the return of Diablo himself. Obviously I did not share that in my sneak preview video. I'm going to be sharing that in a separate video. We'll be facing off against Diablo together. A Fated Duel Shattered Sanctuary main quest. Shattered Sanctuary is the next chapter in the main quest for Diablo Immortal, available to those who've completed the Crucible of Justice questline. With Elduin the Sword of Justice in hand, gather your allies and sail to a ravaged land in the far north. Here at World's Crown, you will face Diablo in a high-stakes duel for the fate of Sanctuary. But before you can clash against the Lord of Terror, you must first fight through the vicious legion comprised of terror demons and cultists, Shardborn and the Maddened. The latter were seafarers and seasonal visitors to World's Crown and were among the first to gaze upon Diablo's visage and spiral into insanity. Now they're indistinguishable from monsters. If you are unable to hold terror at bay, all of Sanctuary will be unmade. World's Crown is Diablo Immortal's newest zone and largest to date, a vast snowy landmass in the far north besieged by the legions of terror as Diablo attempts to fuse Sanctuary with the burning hells. It includes new bounties, 7 subzones and a safe zone and a unique wanted monsters. So like all the other zones, it will have different zone tasks that you can complete, including wanted monsters. Relive your climatic clash against the Lord of Terror with friends. Once the dust has settled and the Shattered Sanctuary quest is complete, you can relive your moment of glory against Diablo as a replayable challenge. Gather up to 4 brave souls and dare to confront a Diablo who wields all the force of the burning hells alongside the reality warping power of the Worldstone Shard. Should you survive, Elduin-inspired cosmetics, set items and more will be your rewards. So after you've actually completed the questline, you do have the opportunity to play it again with your friends, and from the sound of this you can earn rewards from this, like cosmetics, set items, and it says and more, so I'm guessing scrap materials and that as well. Crank up the complexity in challenge dungeons. Dungeons just became more rewarding and dangerous. Shattered Sanctuary introduces boosted versions called Challenge Dungeons, which are higher difficulty versions of all Diablo Immortal's existing dungeons. When you begin a challenge dungeon, you'll be assigned 1 to 2 random dungeon modifiers, such as pools of magma, increased monster speed, or bonus globe drops. Your first challenge dungeon completed each week will provide a chest with a guaranteed set item, and all challenge runs will have a higher chance of dropping potent rewards. Monsters have 500% more life and deal 200% more damage in challenge dungeons, so approach with caution. Here are the possible forces of hell that can be unleashed during your challenge dungeon run. Big problem. Enemies are larger throughout the dungeon, the player size is decreased. Bosses will continuously grow over time until they enrage. Laser. Enemies fire beams of enemy at targets. Bad blood. Enemies may leave behind a pool of blood and after death that will slow and damage players. Bolstered. Some non-boss monsters have an aura that increases movement and attack speed of nearby monsters and gives them shield. Rain of fire. Fireballs occasionally fall from the sky, leaving burning areas that will damage the player. Sacrificial power. Skills have greatly reduced cooldowns but cost health. Lava eruption. Lava periodically erupts beneath the player. Speedrun. Completing the dungeon within the time limit will grant bonus rewards. Swarming. The dungeon has more monsters throughout. S-Class. Dungeon has more elite monsters throughout. Gauntlet. The dungeon has no normal monsters and bosses are stronger. Heightened senses. Monsters sense players more easily and have greatly increased movement speed. Conjurer. Some monsters and bosses summon doppelgangers. Bountiful. Combat globes drop more frequently. Greed spoils. Skip directly to the final dungeon boss. The boss's difficulty is increased. So those are the modifiers that we can expect to see in the challenge dungeons. I'm actually really excited to play this. I didn't do this on my test build because I wanted to try it on my main character because my test build character seemed quite weak. So I'm excited to see exactly what the challenge dungeon looks like, and I'll probably put together a side-by-side of a challenge dungeon run and a normal dungeon run for us to compare. Meet your next nightmare, Dreadbirth Helliquary Bosses. So with this new update, we will see 3 new Helliquary Bosses. I'm not going to read through this as this was in my previous patch video, so you can check that out for more details. But we'll have Vogmeric the Tormentor at Inferno 4, Mulgeist the Molten at Inferno 5, and Jospray Sovereign Shade at Inferno 6. Topple Hell's creations in a new Helliquary Gauntlet. The Dreadbirth Helliquary Bosses have been added to the Helliquary Gauntlet's legendary lineup, of which the next season begins on December 13th. You can earn legendary items, set items, and the new Molten Ruptured Soul armor, weapon, and portal cosmetic if you have the endurance to topple these foes. So I'll bring up that cosmetic on the screen so you can have a look at that as well. Terror Ascendant limited time event. Sanctuary reeks of terror. Since Diablo's return, fear permeates the ground its subjects walk upon, taunting them with eternal doom. You must cleanse the air by completing Terror Ascendant tasks from December 13th at 3 AM till December 27th 3 AM server time to earn Champions Commendations. These can be exchanged for rewards such as Telluric Pearl, a legendary crest, legendary items, and more. Days of Dawn Span limited time event. A new dawn lies in the end of Hellfire-lined tunnel, adventurer. Venture out to seize it. From January 1st at 3 AM till January 15th at 3 AM server time, you can complete daily and weekly Days of Dawn Span tasks to earn rewards, such as runes, Moonlight Flora, and Aspirant's Keys, and a milestone progression points. Daily tasks will have you running Ibenfard's Sanctum, completing Castle Ereban, or Abyssal Verge, whereas weekly tasks will require you to run Rite of Cleansing and more. So both of these events look like they'll have nice rewards from them, and I always enjoy these kind of limited time events when they're in the game. We also have some returning events coming back, so taking a look at this now, we have the Eternal War, which is going to continue until December 31st, and then returning events coming back to Diablo Immortal, we have Conqueror that's making a return on December 13th till December 20th, Hungering Moon coming back on December 14th until December 21st, we've got Brumaltine. Now, I absolutely love this event, so I'm going to read this one out. With the moon as their witness, the townsfolk of Westmarch shuttered their businesses early. Some gallantly strolled, others bolted in a fit of excitement. To Arrakis Plaza, quick! A man carrying a hefty stone carving adorned with an archaic sigil yelled. The spectacle brewing in the town centre was that of legends. The plaza was bathed in radiance and warmth, oozed from nearby hearths, handheld lanterns, and unwieldy torches. A tree, barren of green but teeming with crimson candles, dominated the festivities centre. As the plaza began to host numerous souls, presents of various ornamentation, and the exchanging of handmade cards, a cry rang about. May warmth fill your heart throughout the new year. So from December 17th at 3 AM till January 7th at 3 AM, you can make offerings for continued warmth and safety during the Brumaltine limited time holiday event. Each day, players can complete up to 3 daily tasks in exchange for snow-dusted rewards and progress towards grander Brumaltine prizes. On December 23rd, 24th, 25th, 30th and 31st and January 1st, players can log in to receive celebratory Brumaltine gifts such as the Fierce Training emoji and Brumaltine portrait frame. Players can also participate in the Brumaltine tradition of trading greetings cards with friends. So I always love doing that. I actually really enjoy sending the cards to other players in game. It's always quite fun, and it's a nice way of sending some stupid and inappropriate messages to some of your friends as well. So yeah, I actually really love the Brumaltine, and I'm excited for that one to be back in game. We also have Wild Brawl making a return, so that'll be back on December 20th until December 27th. So that's always quite fun to play with friends, especially over the Christmas period. Who else wouldn't want to kill their friends? We have Shady Stock making a return on December 21st till December 28th. Alley of Blood coming back December 27th until January 3rd. All Clans on Deck. Oh my god, I cannot talk. All Clans on Deck is also coming back on December 28th until January 4th. We have Holiday Fractured Plane. So Fractured Plane is coming back once again on December 24th till December 31st. So let me say that again, December 24th until December 31st. That is Fractured Plane. So that's not going to be in game very long, but obviously get nice rewards from that. We have Trial of the Hordes coming back again on January 3rd until January 10th. And Shields of the Hearth. So this is another limited time event, and I'm going to read through this one now. Crashing into a soft bed of snow, you free your axe from a fallen Khazra and rise up to your feet. Breathing in and out, you begin to catch your breath, but it is short-lived. The frigid wind whips you around, revealing a small horde of Khazra racing in to avenge their ally. Your bloodthirsty attackers number many, but when do they not? Raising your shield, you brace yourself for the slaughter ahead. Bitter winds carry whispers of evil to every corner of the frozen land. Protect the world from its grasping fingers during the Shields of Hearth limited time event. So this limited time event will be from January 4th until January 11th at 3 AM server time. As you complete daily Shields of Hearth tasks, you'll receive various rewards for your heroics. Racking up enough completed tasks will also unlock milestone rewards for you, an ode to vanquishing countless horrors. So that will be more of the things like scrap material, telluric pearls, crests, and that. I believe it doesn't actually specify what you'll get from that event, but I'm pretty sure those are the rewards that we had for it last time it was in game. New legendary items, set items, and Paragon specializations. So the new legendary items and set items I've already discussed in a separate video. You can check that out on my page. It will be in the same playlist that you can find this video in. But I'm going to go through the new Paragon specialization, as I couldn't actually access this correctly in the test build. So this new specialization is called Slayer. You have different nodes for this, as with all of the Paragon trees. So I'm going to go through each of these now. So you have proficiency, primary attack and ultimate damage is increased by 7%. Vigor, primary attacks against the same enemy deal increasing damage up to maximum of 10%. Tempo, damaging enemies with your primary attack increases your primary attack speed by 1% for 3 seconds, stacking up to a maximum of 10%. Up the tempo, tempo's primary attack speed bonus is increased from 2% to 4%, stacking up to a maximum of 20%. Collateral damage, the damage of secondary effects is triggered from a primary attack and increased by 10%. Deterioration, continual damage from your harmful effects is increased by 10%. Cripple, your continual damage harmful effects also reduce the attack speed of afflicted enemies by 10%. Impair, cripple's attack speed reduction is increased from 10% to 15%. Rupture, enemies suffering from 3 of your continuous damage effects explode, dealing 32.5% base damage to all nearby enemies. Can occur more often than once every 10 seconds. Contagion, when your continual damage harmful effects expire, they have 30% chance to spread up to 3 nearby enemies within 10 yards, but the damage they deal is reduced by 66%. Amplified shields, increase the effectiveness of your shields and the shields you grant to allies by 10%. Convergence, gaining a shield reduces the cooldown of all your non-damaging skills by 0.5 seconds. Cannot occur more often than once every 10 seconds. Unwavering, gaining a shield also makes you immune to the next 2 knockback effects. Cannot occur more often than once every 10 seconds. Safeguard, when your shields expire, you take 60% reduced damage for 2 seconds. Cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds. Hope, gain a shield every 30 seconds that absorbs damage equal to 15% of your maximum life for 6 seconds. Then we have the new legendary skills, starting with Death's Release. When your continual damage harmful effects expire, they explode, dealing 30% of their total damage to all nearby enemies. Cannot occur more often than once every 10 seconds. So that one I think could actually be really nice in PvP. So that one is called Death's Release. Shock Barrier. Gaining an absorb shield causes you to unleash a burst of energy, dealing damage to all nearby enemies equal to 30% of that shield's absorb value, up to a maximum of 40% of your base damage. Cannot occur more often than once every 10 seconds. Overloaded. You periodically become overloaded, causing your next 5 primary attacks within 3 seconds to have 60% increased primary attack speed. Overloaded cannot occur more often than once every 20 seconds from when your previous effect ended. Now with the launch of this new Paragon tree, what I would recommend doing is actually resetting your Paragon points and reallocating them into this new tree and all the nodes. The reason I recommend doing this is so that you can actually gain higher secondary stats from that. As you will probably be aware, the Paragon specializations don't give you as much of a boost as the specific Paragon nodes do. So actually awakening those nodes will be more beneficial for you than having the legendary Paragon skills active. So I'm definitely going to be resetting my Paragon tree and putting all of those points into this new Paragon tree to ensure I'm getting higher secondaries, as this will help me in the long run for dungeons and everything else, all of the new content that is coming to game. Now there's also some class and magic attribute balance changes. The class balance change coming to game is for Necromancer. The first one is on Frigid Repose. Bone Armor, so Vortex of Ice damage increased from 34.4% of your damage to 40%. And Parting Gift Bone Armor, the charges granted by Bone Armor now have an upper limit on the damage they will block equal to 160% of your damage. This means particularly heavy single hits will cause some damage. So that is a change for Bone Armor, which I'm sure many people will not be happy about, as a lot of us use this in things like Gauntlet. The next meaty part of this update is magic affix balance changes. So some of the magic affixes will be changed, and I'm going to read through these now. So Endure. Shields also grant you immunity to 2 hits of damage, cannot occur more often than once every 12 seconds. This now absorbs up to 50% of your damage per hit, and massive damage hits can consume multiple charges. Endure. Evading an attack has 12% chance to grant your shield equal to 10% of your maximum life for 5 seconds. Cannot occur more often than once every 6 seconds. So what they've changed is previously the chance to trigger was reduced in PvP. Now instead, the shield value is reduced in PvP. Shield value reduced from 10% to 5% and remove the chance to trigger. Cooldown increased from 6 to 12 seconds. Clandestine. Movement speed increased from 9% by 9% while invisible. This is now increased to 12%. Clandestine. Movement speed increased by 9% for 5 seconds after opening a chest. This is now increased to 12%. Clandestine again. Movement speed increased by 0.3% for 5 seconds after killing a monster, up to a maximum of 9%. This is now increased from up to a maximum of 12% from 30 to 40 stacks. For class-specific ones, we've got Barbarian. Undying Rage reduces the duration of harmful effects by 20%, reduced from 20% to 10%. Sprint grants you 25% chance of being immune to knockback, chill, and slow effects. This is now reduced from 25% to 12.5%. Whirlwind range increased by 8%. This has now increased to 12%. Wrath of the Berserker has a 20% chance to trigger an explosion every 0.5 seconds, dealing 31.8% of your damage to all nearby enemies. This is now increased from 31.8% to 40%. Leap reduces your damage taken by 10% for 3 seconds. This is increased from 10% to 12%. Moving on to Monk. Inner Sanctuary increases evasion rating by 7% in Inner Sanctuary. This is reduced from 7% to 5%. Exploding Palm has a 5% chance to explode when damaging a bleeding enemy. This is increased from 5% to 10% in the update. Wave of Light deals 25% increased critical hit damage when you are within 3 yards of your target. This has been changed to increase from 25% to 30%. And lastly, we have Tempest. Flowing Strike grants a shield that absorbs 185% of your damage for 3 seconds. This is reduced from 185% to 90%, and the duration is increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Rolling Surf causes your primary attacks to launch water blades at enemies, dealing 19.8% of your damage. This is reduced from 19.8% to 10% in this update. Windwalk restores 1% of your maximum life every 0.5 seconds, up to a maximum of 6 times. This has changed and is increased from 1% to 2%. Zephyr Surge deals 10% critical hit damage for each Zephyr consumed. This is increased from 10% to 12% in the update. And Cascade, range increased by 8%, has now been increased to 12%. So there's a little bit of give and take there for the 3 classes that are affected. Moving on, we have some feature updates, starting with the new progression system, Seeker's Path. I've actually made a separate video for that, so I'm not going to talk through that today. Familiars also have some changes coming. One of them you will have already seen in my video, but conversion will now be the only way of upgrading your familiars, and the melding option has been removed. So you can now actually gain familiars with better quality, and you can also gain aberrant familiars from normal familiar conversions now, so that is huge. And I think it's beneficial. A lot of people are kind of annoyed because there's a lot of people that still trade familiars. However, I think for players that are struggling with familiars, like I do not understand familiars at all, this is actually going to be a beneficial change for us. There's also magic affix rerolls coming. I have a video that I've edited for that, so I will have that up soon to show you exactly how that works. Gem resonance changes, so the gem resonance system now unlocks at rank 4, giving you flexibility in socketing the gems you want, but old predetermined resonance gems are still needed to get the socketed bonus. Socketing resonance gems will now temporarily contribute gem power to the primary gem when it is ranked up in progressive upgrade, and if the same ranked up primary gem is unsocketed later, it will become dormant to prevent exploitation. So I believe this is to prevent people exploiting things like smurfing in Battleground, because that happens quite a lot. Gem power extraction and transfer can now be used on 1 and 2 star legendary gems, which you'll be aware of from my video yesterday. And normal gems, you can now actually track your normal gems gained in a 4-person party, so that is huge change as well. Deciding to skip the dungeon's introduction cutscene will now automatically skip the cutscene for that dungeon for the rest of the week. Again, a really good quality of life change there. It's going to save a few seconds each time you're running dungeons, especially for things like Namari, Destruction's End and Mad King's Breach. A new armory has been added to Battleground and Tower Wall. When used, only the effects of essence transfer are retained for these PvP activities. Gems and items cannot be replaced, and armories have also received 2 updates. So you can now save an activated Paragon specialization without saving points, and a new display mode that allows you to clearly view individual equipment and their names has been added. So that's going to be huge for me, especially when I'm doing my build videos, as some of you enjoy those. And it's going to be a lot easier to actually see the essences and a list of the items that you are using there. But I do like the fact that you cannot change your gems with Battleground, because that means that it will save people exploiting that mechanic again of going in with a smaller build and then swapping the gems to have higher resonance, because that was an issue previously. Speaking of Battleground, there are some changes coming for this. So extra points will be awarded to members of the losing sides of a match who receive honour labels. So honour labels are things like the most damage, the most assists, most time spent on the objective while receiving damage, etc. There is a key for this, which I have shared before on my channel. But yeah, there are different honour labels that you can gain in Battleground, and you will actually gain points for this now. Helliquary, a new damage meter displaying the top 4 damage dealers, has been added. More information about each player's performance can be viewed once the Helliquary battle concludes. The downtime and transitions for the following Helliquary bosses has also been reduced, removing life locks and adjusting triggers for spawns throughout the fight. Ischia, Elsali, Pestiel, Eintrega, Uthmashkar, Zekorandag and Morsagarai. So I did actually ask for the life locks as like the immunity to be removed from quite a few bosses a little while ago, so it's nice to see that there's going to be another change coming for that. Additionally, a spectator mode has been added to the Helliquary for downed allies to cheer on their comrades when they continue to fight. So if you die and you're out of revives, you will actually be able to continue to spectate now, rather than just laying there dead and only having the option to leave the raid. Prodigy's Path. 2 Prodigy's Path will now be available each quarter of the year. The first 2 under the new system will run from December 13th to January 27th and January 27th to March 20th. Free rewards will remain the same but will be split across both Prodigy's Path. Premium rewards will also remain the same, but you can now earn twice the amount if you purchase both Prodigy's Path. So I'm interested to see that once that is in the store. Again, that wasn't in the test build, so I wasn't able to see that, but I actually do think Prodigy's Path is really beneficial, and it's something that I do always purchase from the store. Hero's Journey is set to reset on December 13th. So the first 4 chapters of the new Hero's Journey will be available, and you can begin completing this as soon as that is in game, and you will earn the Roving Victory portrait frame. Once chapter 5 and 6 of the journey become available, they'll let us know in the next patches. Challenge Rift Season 10. The new Challenge Rift season will run from December 13th to February 17th. It adds levels 351 to 400, capping out at a combat rating of 47,522, and lowers the difficulty for levels 331 to 350. New Heraldric Bestiary entries. There's going to be new pages added to Bestiary for the new bosses to illustrate the histories of the Dreadbirth and Stormspawn Helliquary bosses. Gather monstrous essence to unlock them. New entries for the Adventurous Chronicle have also been added, so these will be scattered around the map, including in the new zone World's Crown. There's a change for Wing Awakening, but I'm not going to bother talking about that. Earn additional inventory and stash space, so shorten space for that converted drop you just received, Activate the Blizzard Authenticator feature by logging into your Battle.net account and following these steps to receive an additional row of inventory and stash space while it is enabled. You'll not only have to upgrade its storage capacity, but increase security for your account. So if you do actually do that and have the authenticator already, you will already gain this new equipment space and stash space. So that is something for people that already have that. And that is it from this patch note. I think this is possibly the longest video I have done for patch notes since the start of my time in Diablo Immortal. So thank you to everyone that sat here and listened to all of this. I hope you've enjoyed it. Mainly, I've just covered the information that is missing from my other video, as my first video was kind of like a top line look, everything that's new. But for now, that is it from me. I'll see you in the next one.